Welcome back for another video. It was always going to be a tough game week with no chips active, while overall 1.7 million chips were activated, about a million triple captaincy, so can't complain too much with 79 points. It was a 4k red arrow down to 20.8k. 3 early transfers made already ahead of Gameweek 18, so I'll run you through those transfers shortly. It was almost a perfect sweep at the back. I had clean sheets from Raya, O'Reilly, Anderson and Timber, and it was Van Dijk that conceded to 10-man Spurs, which later ended up as 9-man Spurs. Semenyo with a goal and maximum bonus. Holding on to him for a little bit longer when many sold has ended up a really good call. The big talking point was the Bruno injury though, and we're yet to get something concrete on exactly how long he's out. The tests are going to determine the extent of the injury, but it sounds like he could miss a month potentially, which is 5 or 6 game weeks. I was having a look back at my Gameweek 1 team because I remember starting the season with Bruno and he's got to be sold now with the injury. Dubravka and Anderson are the only 2 players surviving from my Gameweek 1 team. What a throwback this team is, by the way. Salah and Palmer in there, no Haaland. Double Spurs defence, Murillo and Rodgers. Like, who remembers at the start of the season I went Rodgers and Watkins and Villa didn't score for their first 4 games. They finally scored in Gameweek 5 and as I say I hold on to Rodgers and Watkins for all 5 game weeks. But not a single return from them in the first 5. But Rodgers finally shown what he's capable of lately with another brace. That's 3 braces in his last 6 games. Anyway, let's take a look at how you got on and then we'll go through the team and the transfers made. Lindsay used the triple captain and says 115 with points to spare on my bench. 21 points in bonus this week, which is crazy. I'm glad that the majority of triple captaincies are done now, so I don't have to be reminded of that Haaland 2-point triple captain disaster in my team home to Leeds. Jake scored a few more points, but absolutely nailed the transfers and says he brought in Verbruggen, Robinson, Pino and Ekatike and sold Raya, Rodon, Enzo and Thiago and says into the top 1 million for the first time this season. Sway says it should be a 30 plus point swing if my triple captain was used on Haaland. Triple captain Thiago who blanked for a 6-pointer, so it was 61 points all out for Sway. I mean, this is a safe space for anyone that triple captain 2 points, don't worry. Last one then, FPL Insider bench boosted with one of the biggest scores we've seen all season. Almost everyone delivered in his team and he finished on 124 points all out, 124 points. And further to that, that was a green arrow to 12k in the world, sensational stuff. Right, let's get into the team for Gameweek 18 and the transfers made. In goal, Rise home to Brighton. 9 clean sheets this season, now it's more than any keeper. 16 big chances conceded is 10 fewer than any other team. And they're the only team with under 100 shots in the box conceded with 89. Next lowest is Man City with 120. In defence, it's a back 3 this week, Van Dijk, O'Reilly and Timber. Good coverage on the clean sheet odds this week. Liverpool are top with a 48% chance home to Wolves. Arsenal 44 against Brighton, Man City are 4th with 36%. I'm recording this before Arsenal play against Palace in the League Cup, where I'm hoping there's going to be a lot of rotation. You know, the likes of Timber, Calafiori, Raya, Saka and Rice all getting a rest. I've got a call to make with that third defender spot between O'Reilly and Mukiele, since Mukiele's home to Leeds. The clean sheet odds are only 5% in favour of O'Reilly, so it's quite close. I've benched quite a few Mukiele clean sheets this season, including last game week, which I don't actually mind too much because I'd rather have that depth and the bench points than not have it at all. O'Reilly is averaging an expected goal of him every 383 minutes, which is very solid for a defender. Liverpool have gone 6 games undefeated now after that terrible patch of 3 losses on the bounce last month, and they've got Wolves home, Leeds home and Burnley home in their next 5 game weeks. I'm still waiting for that Van Dijk bullet header. He has at least one every season. We did have that one against Man City, but it was ruled out. But yeah, if he can have one of those, you know, goal plus clean sheet type games over the next 5, it'd be absolutely huge. Let's get into the midfield then, where there's been 2 changes. It's Lafay, Cunha, Foden and Saka. I was posting about Enzo Lafay the other day. I was kind of half joking here, but he does actually make sense for my team when the budget is so tight. So I had 4.9 million in the bank for a Semenyo replacement, and he's exactly 4.9 mil. He's got Leeds home next. He does resolve a concern that I had with my team, which was the lack of bench depth. He's actually on penalties for Sunderland. He takes some corners. Sunderland have also had 2 direct free kick attempts this season, which were both him, so maybe even he's on direct free kicks. And most importantly, his initials spell elf. I'm probably only going to get 2 pointers off him, to be honest with you, but you can do worse for 4.9 mil, and he does open the door to other players that I really wanted. One of those players is Cunha, who's come in for Bruno. He's looking really good lately. His last 3 games in a row, he's registered over 1 expected goal involvement. He's top in the league over the last 4 for non-pen XGI. I'm hoping that Newcastle could end up a wide open game given Newcastle's defensive injuries. Hopefully one of those games where, they sort of both end up having to throw punches because neither team can defend as well as they want to right now due to injuries. Anyway, beyond Newcastle, Man United have got Wolves home, Leeds away and then Burnley away in a row. Pep's always done extremely well against Dyche in his career. They've faced each other 18 times and Dyche has never won a game. 16 of those 18 are losses for Dyche. Pep's City have scored 53 goals in those 18 meetings, so on average 2.94 goals per game. It's the first time facing Dyche's Forest, of course. Those past meetings Dyche when he was at Burnley and Everton, so we'll have to see how they get on this time. Saka seems to be the one heavily sacrificed player for Ekitike, and it might pay off, don't get me wrong, but I just wasn't comfortable losing Saka. Maybe that's some Arsenal bias in me, and I do appreciate that Rice has scored more points per game, more points overall. I do sort of get it if Saka's your only way to Ekitike, but the other thing about Saka is he's a really nice possible placeholder for buying Palmer later. Not just yet obviously, but if Palmer settles in as he comes back from this injury and he starts to look really sharp, then from Gameweek 21 or 22, Chelsea's fixtures are amazing. So that's 2 of the 3 changes that I've made. Semenyo to Enzo Lefebvre, Bruno to Cunha, and the final changes up front, it's Thiago, Ekitike and Haaland. So Ekitike comes in for Mark Gu. Before this game week I had Mark Gu and Bar, both on my bench that weren't playing, so using 3 transfers, Bruno's been fixed, but the second thing I've fixed is my bench depth, and the very in-form Ekitike comes in before 2 unbelievable fixtures. He's looking really sharp lately, and Isak broke his leg against Spurs, so he's going to be out for a few months. Liverpool are also top for projected goals this week according to the bookies, 2.8 goals for them. Arsenal are second on 2.3, Man City 2.0, and then it's Chelsea, Man United and Brentford. So pretty good coverage between my mids and attackers on the projections this week. The other path that I did strongly consider was selling Thiago to Ekitike, and that freed up the money for something like Bar to Szoboszlai instead. I think that's a really tight call. I kind of had to remind myself of Gameweek 11 early in the season. Some of you might remember I had a choice between Minte and Thiago, and it looked and felt really 50-50 at the time. And in the end I just thought I'll back the striker, and he's on pens if nothing else. Szoboszlai might be on pens temporarily, and he could be incredible if he keeps playing right wing. It does depend on Bradley and Frimpong being available. You really don't want a reverse out of position Szoboszlai and right back. Thiago, obviously, he's not even come close to scoring the last couple games, so that is a concern. Maybe Dango is that big of a miss while he's at AFCON. He's not even had a shot the last couple games, but he does have 3 home games in his next 4, Thiago, so I was reluctant to let him go just yet. So who's the best captain this week? Well, the captain widget has actually got Ekitike, Wirtz and Haaland all on 5 stars, so it's pretty close. I'm going to go with Haaland in all likelihood. I don't mind Ekitike captain though. It's just the potential for an early substitution to protect him that nudges it towards Haaland for me. It feels like if anything, maybe he's a bit likelier to get 80-90 minutes Haaland. Ekitike, say Liverpool were 2-0 up, I could see him coming off at 70 odd minutes. So the benches Dubravka, Mukiele, Anderson and Bar. Bench is looking a lot better this week. I've got no free transfers left though, and I've got nothing in the bank, literally 0.0 mil. It's always a risk going early with transfers. Like a lot of people bought Ekitike back on Saturday night, only for Bruno to then get his first serious injury of his entire career, and anything can happen. Making a later transfer might have resulted in selling Bruno instead, which is what I've done to fund a path to Ekitike. Given that I was going to be priced out of the 3 moves that I've made, plus the fact that I've got better bench depth, I felt like I could kind of justify the risk this week, but it is a risk. So just to recap those 3 transfers made, it was Mark Gu to Ekitike, Bruno to Cunha and Semenyo to Lefebvre. I'm hoping to roll a couple of transfers after this week because I just don't like stringing along with only 1 transfer banked. Looking further afield, like general thoughts on the team in the future, I could roll to Gameweek 20 and then Gameweek 21 do Saka to Palmer, and maybe Gabriel or Tarkowski in for Van Dijk around then as well for triple Arsenal defence, or that week Everton have got Wolves home. Around then, Munoz should also be back as well though, so Munoz is an option, and he was unbelievable for me when I had him for a run early this season, so I'd love to get him back. That'll also be around when Bruno could be back, so I'm going to keep that in mind as well, because he is such a ridiculously good FPL asset, and it'd be even cheaper at that point, so I do want to get Bruno back in as soon as he's available. Anyway, hit subscribe if you'd like to follow my team throughout the rest of the season. There's a link below to claim free premium on the Fpl app and FPL.page as well. That offer ends this month, and that's the final giveaway of the season, so that's in the description. See you soon for the next one.